Our next welcome presenter, Mr. Clint Beck from the Federal Highway Administration. We're honored to have you here. A little bit of bio about Clint is in your agenda. Clint's currently the Director of Programs and Performance Management of Federal Highway Administration. Please welcome from Federal Highway, Clint Beck.
Looks like a pretty good crowd here today. Welcome to Pennsylvania, as Mike welcomed you. Again, Clint Beck with Federal Highway. I'm in the Pennsylvania division. Hopefully you all know your corresponding division partners at Federal Highway. In each state we have a division office. So our office here in Pennsylvania has around 35 people. It's a little smaller in smaller states, larger in larger states, spread across the whole country, plus our folks down in DC. So welcome to Harrisburg. It was a beautiful day. You know, like Mike said, great to have an in-person meeting. My office is across town. It was a 2-block walk to the meeting, so it's great to just kind of walk over here and say hi to folks. I do plan to stick around this afternoon to talk a little bit about, or listen to you talk about asset management. So one of the first things, as I mentioned, I walked over here. So you heard in my bio, my group covers all kinds of things. You know, my background, I was a pavement engineer. So you're like, why do they bring a pavement engineer to talk at a bridge conference? Now where I'm at, we have bridge, I have pavement, I've got safety, operations, and everything. So I want to bring your attention, even as bridge engineers, you know, how important safety is. And, you know, as you walk around Harrisburg, you'll see there's some improvements that have been done for pedestrian safety. And as you drive around, make sure you're being safe and you're a good model for those around. They don't pay me and tell me to do that. I think that's important personally. So I just want to remind you, you know, we're trying to get those numbers down and they're going in the wrong direction. So safe driving is important when we're out here, especially you're in a new area like this. Lots of exciting things here coming from Federal High, from the federal government. As Mike mentioned, that FHWA's Bipartisan Infrastructure Law was passed in November. So everything I'm going to talk about here, you can listen to what I have to say, but also you can search for FHWA space BIL, which is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and there's a website to give you all the details, way more than you need here today. So I'll just talk on some of the bridge things. There's the Bridge Formula Program. It's about $5.5 billion through 2027. It's the largest dedicated bridge funding since construction of the interstate. And that's sort of an interesting thing, working at Federal Highways now. We started building the interstates, basically. That's where we started in the 50s, and we said, you can't use our federal funding for maintenance, preservation, or anything like that. You know, that's a big no-no, only construction. Well, we've come a long way, right? Now we're pushing asset management, preservation, lowest cost, and that's where you guys come in delivering that part of the program. So we realize now, what we didn't realize then, the critical part of taking care of the bridges, not just building the bridges. What's interesting about this Bridge Formula Program, dedicated funding for off-system bridges for local owners. Like Mike mentioned, we've got quite a few local bridges here in Pennsylvania, as do many states, and obviously eligibility for preservation. The other major program that came out of BIL is the Bridge Investment Program. It's a grant program. Lots of grant programs, which we're trying to figure out as a federal agency how we're going to manage. It was just published June 10th, the Bridge Investment Program. There's 3 categories of funding: planning grants, bridge projects less than $100 million, and bridge projects greater than $100 million. And I can think of quite a few that we could do for over $100 million. Doesn't buy much anymore. So that's available, about $2.3 billion. So we're looking for projects to be submitted. This is a competitive grant program, unlike the formula programs, and municipalities, all kinds of eligibility. State DOTs can submit for that funding and actually kind of beef up their program. So when Mike talks about a $2.5 billion letting in Pennsylvania, they could beef that up. If they get a $100 million grant, then that's extra money on top of what they've already done. So we make it competitive, just kind of make sure that the best projects are hopefully being selected. All these have email addresses. We're building these programs from the ground up. A lot of them, when the legislation comes out, our folks in headquarters are scrambling to build these. So again, that website, if you look that up, there'll be emails if you have questions about whether something you're thinking bridge preservation related would be eligible or not, and you can ask those questions. Another big thing, big new bridge news that came out of Federal Highway recently is the Nbis program. I think for the first time in quite a long time, it's been revisited. What did Mike say there? 18,000 bridges get inspected every year. Well, maybe under the new Nbis, you can stretch out that frequency of the inspections. Instead of every 2 years, maybe a little more often. based on newer bridges that, are going to be pretty steady state for a while. There's other flexibilities, but there's also things we've learned, and we've added in new controls and new bridges maybe that need to be inspected that weren't before. So that's an important part of the safety part. For that one, I would search for FHWA space NBIS, and you'll find everything related to that rulemaking. And again, there's a place to submit questions if you're curious. There's guidance memos that have been out on this, and I think we've worked with the states on a lot of those things. I did want to touch a little bit on asset management. One of my roles in the division, even as a director, they give us work. We're a pretty small office, so one of my areas of focus is asset management and performance management. As you heard, I was a bridge or a pavement management engineer to start at PennDOT, and it follows through on bridges too. So this year, the state DOTs are all submitting their TAMPs, their Transportation Asset Management Plans, which is pavement and bridges on the NHS and how they're going to be handled, and that's up for recertification. Bridge preservation is a core part of that asset management, and you're going to hear that from Justin a little bit later. So it's the lowest life cycle cost almost every time on how you take care of a bridge, and we as Federal Highways want state DOTs and localities to embrace that. So I think this is a great group here, what you're going to learn over the next couple of days to kind of further that. And we'll work on the other side to get what your ideas are into projects. So in closing, just wanted to mention the importance of bridge inspection and preservation on safety. Again, whether that's the traveling public or workers, or even when inspectors are out there inspecting bridges, safety does still have to be our #1 priority. So, everything you do, even if you think it may not be related, it is, whether it's adding friction to a bridge or even an anti-skid or some sort of system, anti-icing system that improves safety, or the bridge rails. So I appreciate all the work that you guys do. Safe travels again. Watch your step as you step off a curb. No texting while you're walking through Harrisburg. And have a good conference. I'll be sticking around.
Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.